Welcome to another edition of Around with Randall, your weekly podcast on making your nonprofit more effective for your community. And here is your host, the CEO and founder of Hallett Philanthropy, Randall Hallett.
I'm so appreciative that you would take a minute or two of your time to join me, Randall, on this edition of Around with Randall. I have been struck recently as working with clients and doing some teaching, as I've had the privilege of doing over the last couple of weeks, to really contemplate and think about the aspects of collaboration. We spend a lot of time blaming other people. We spend a lot of time making excuses. We tend to look at ourselves as lone rangers. I think in some ways, the world in which we live in today with social media, the echo chambers of news and commentary and chat rooms and all the other social media platforms has caused a lapse in the understanding and really the value of collaboration. I'll steal from John Maxwell, who has written, 20 books or so on leadership and about communication. Nothing of significance was ever achieved by an individual acting alone. Look below the surface and you'll find that all seemingly solo acts are really team efforts. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And if you look through, jump outside of, let's say, the world of philanthropy and just look at history, things like the Civil War in my all-time favorite book, which I've referred to, I think in the 10 reads that I recommend regarding leadership in the particular case, is Abraham Lincoln and his cabinet, the book written by Doris Kearns Goodwin on the team of rivals. Lincoln knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed a team of people that would move together with him to repair the Union. Certainly, when we think about exploration, it wasn't Lewis and it wasn't Clark. It was Lewis and Clark on their amazing world of adventure, the discovery of the Louisiana Purchase. And by the way, there were multiple other men as part of that group. It wasn't just two. Even scientific discovery. I have been fascinated recently reading more about rapid eye movement, discovered in 1953. That was discovered as part of the way in which we sleep by three individuals, one of whom was a medical student. But it took all of them to figure out what it all meant when we now take for granted an understanding of rapid eye movement and the importance of deep sleep. Going to the moon, maybe the greatest adventure of the 20th century. My goodness, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that were part of that process. And many of the astronauts, from Neil Armstrong to Gene Tierney to, pick your favorite, Alan Shepard, all said there were a lot of people who made that possible. I love historically reading about the Panama Canal. There were multiple efforts to build the Panama Canal until the United States reached success in the early part of the 20th century, 1903 through about 1907 or so, maybe 1908. How many thousands of people, including specific leaders, all the way to the President of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt, saying, we got to get this done. Flight, just the thought of flying. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, those were two individuals that had to work together, collaboration, to get to their goal of getting off the ground. Even when we think about psychology and the idea of loss, we're taught that it's better not to go through it alone. It's a group effort. It's a group momentum. It's a group journey. And yes, there are individual pieces of it, but when we lose someone we love, we tend not to go through it alone. In fact, what's one of the things that's recommended for those that are struggling with loss with someone that they loved? Group therapy. Go hear and be around others that have been through the same process. The same is true of when we think about alcoholism and certainly drug addiction. There are tried and true methodologies, scientific and medical, around group therapy. But really, when it comes down to it, the best example is what we do every day. Collaboration. You can't be a great fundraiser without great donors. And you can't be a great donor without a great nonprofit with somebody representing it. And so our world is built into collaboration. There is value in collaboration. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. One of which is the idea of leadership, sharing power, sharing responsibility. Are you willing to delegate and give authority to others? A second way of looking at it is pure teamwork. Maybe there isn't a specific leader. Does the team work for a common goal? Is there sharing? A third way of looking at it is what I think of as software or project management software. I use this very consistently with many of the projects I work on with clients online, so they have access to it. They can see exactly what we're doing, the steps we're going to go through, how that works. So collaboration from a technical perspective can be looked at in many different ways, but they have two important things that we have to really consider. Number one is, what are the benefits of being collaborative, and what are the challenges? And then the tactical piece, which we'll cover at the end, which is, what are the keys to success with collaboration? So let's start with the benefits. What are the benefits of collaboration? The first is that it creates goal alignment. Many times the things we have to do, we don't have to do alone. So in philanthropy, particularly, let's take gift officers as an example. Yes, you may have individual goals, but if there's more than one of you, the team has goals, the office has goals. Are we aligned on what those goals actually are? Are we all rowing in the same direction? Goal alignment, if you're looking at it from maybe an infrastructure standpoint or an internal perspective, are we building the processes and procedures for the office to operate and run? Are we all in agreement on that? Do they actually use them? From a board perspective, this is all about agreeing on strategy and strategic planning based on the mission. Goal alignment is bringing everybody together so you're kind of moving towards the same opportunities. And frankly, it's unbelievably frustrating when one person or a couple of small group of people have success, or perceived success, but nobody else is a part of it and the organization didn't succeed. And so this goal alignment is really critical. Number 2 of the 7 benefits for collaboration is skill sharing. I think we'd all like to be omnipotent, all seeing, all knowing, all being, having all the skills necessary to do all of these things. That's not the way the world works. We all bring unique skill sets, opportunities, and wisdom, knowledge, experiences. The power of collaboration is pooling those things so that you have more tools in the tool chest to accomplish the, as mentioned, goal that you've all agreed upon. I do some things really, really well. There are some things that I am not a 0, I'm a negative. The essence of skill sharing, and so we'll move this into the interpersonal just for a second, and also goal alignment, is the way I look at my marriage. Beyond love and beyond, the aspects of just adoring my wife, there is a function of parenting, of managing a house, of managing a family. We have different skills. One of the things that I think we've done very well, and there are many holes and problems and challenges that we certainly, maybe more I have caused than she, but we recognize each other's skills and they're not the same. I'm able to delegate certain things to her so that she can take the lead. She delegates certain things to me so I can take the lead. That skill thought process in an office is powerful if everybody comes to the game with a sense of team. Skill sharing. Number 3 is transparency. If you collaborate and do it well, everybody kind of knows what everybody else is doing. A really basic element of this is using your calendar and having it open to people. I always had, as much as I could, my calendar available to my team. They knew where I was. There were no secrets. To this day, and it's done for a totally different reason, but I'll jump back into the interpersonal. My wife has access to my calendar, my office calendar. She knows where I am, what I'm doing, when my appointments are. We do that because she's trying to get things done. Where can she fit in if she needs something from me versus when I'm not available? But that transparency makes it really easy. That's a very tactical thing. What about transparency when it becomes about emotion? When it becomes about, I want certain things. So if we think about collaboration between a leader and a subordinate, Does the subordinate have transparency about what they want their career to be? Opportunities to grow. Does the leader have transparency about those opportunities being available? These are all tactical, one-off things that exemplify the bigger kind of cause or issue or benefit. In this case, transparency. The fourth is that it saves time. When we have proper collaboration, we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we start something. The best example of this is the assembly line. That is the essence of collaboration. When a car is being built in, let's say, pre-modern times, it was built by 2 or 3 people building the whole car. Henry Ford may not get the credit for actually developing the assembly line, but he perfected it with his Model T. The ability for someone to do one job and then pass the next job on to the next person, and they don't move, the car moves. But that's collaboration because everybody has a critical role in building the car. Now, that's how every car is made basically in the world, except for incredibly specialized cars. It's an example of how that saves time, saves money. They could produce cars at much greater rapid success. And collaboration then exemplifies 2 things. The first in saving time is you become incredibly efficient at doing that function if you have other people that do other functions. Which leads us into number 5. It also improves work quality. If you're able to perfect, going back to the assembly line, one thing over and over and over, what you become is an expert in that particular area. What we need to do is realize that these talents, these expertises, these abilities to maybe not quite perfect, but get awfully close, are incredibly important to collaboration. Because it only takes one person. What's the old adage? The weakest chain in the link. One person, one area to bring things back. Number 6, collaboration is an incubator for new ideas, for different ways of looking at it. I have found when I do things by myself, I tend to do them as long as they're not painful, over and over and over and over the same way. But once you enter into a collaborative state and someone starts, and if you're open to it, critiquing the way it's done, you might find a better methodology to get it done. Assembly line's the best example. They were making things one at a time, basically, constantly. And somebody finally said, this is dumb. And the people that were open to it were able to create a more efficient model of production. This idea of an environment where collaboration lives, whether it's formal or informal, so like you have exercise to do so, or it's just a team, fosters this idea of innovation, new ideas. And the last thing, for the most part, collaboration attracts top talent. The best people I've ever worked with generally don't like to work by themselves. Now, they may want more control, but they want to work in a group. They want to work where the environment is whole, where they have a chance to bounce ideas off of each other, where they can grow. And so these are the 7 benefits, as far as at least the way I think about it, for collaboration. Goal alignment, skill sharing, the ability for transparency. It saves time, it improves quality, it creates new ideas, and it retains top talent. There are challenges with collaboration as well. We can't overlook them. It really takes a strong leader or a leadership model to develop the environment of collaboration. Collaboration at its highest level is all about trust. The ability to trust others with what they're doing that's going to benefit me. The ability for me to believe that they understand what was our common goal, which we'll get to in a minute in terms of key success. There can be title leadership, meaning someone who has a title or it could be informal or natural, like in a team environment. But collaboration requires strong leadership so everybody is believing that trust is possible and beyond possible exists to get to where you want to go. Number two is the more people you have in your particular project, your area, your department, whatever, the more there are, the tougher it is to collaborate at a high level because sometimes the functionality of it is just tough. Sometimes smaller groups. So if you have a group of, let's say in an office of 12, having three groups of four might actually might increase collaboration in the areas of their responsibilities rather than trying to do it all as one group of 12. The more opinions you have, the more thoughts you have, the more difficult it is to have true collaboration. Number three, it's tough to get everybody on the same page, to agree to the goals, to how they're going to be accomplished, how we reward those goals, what we're willing to do, even down to the basics of what our values are. All of these things are really hard because getting everybody moving in the same direction is a challenge. And the minute you get more than a couple, man, everyone's got an opinion. And that's not bad. But is it benefiting are the suggestions, are the perspectives, are the ethics, the morals driving towards the central goal? Which brings me to the kind of the tactical three of the challenges. Number one, agreeing to a goal or series of goals. Do we all agree? Because you can have great intention of collaboration, but if you don't all agree in the beginning what the goals are, or if the goals need to change in the middle, then it just doesn't work. Number two, does everyone work from the same playbook? And what I'm really talking about here is ethics and morals. Is everybody doing, I'm not saying they have to be the same person, but does everyone agree to what the rules are? And number three, do they agree to the timeline? So you can have great goals and great ethics and morals, but if someone wants to get something done in 6 months and somebody wants to get it done in 6 years, you are not going to find the kind of collaborations necessary to get it done. So a tactical three, can you get the goals all collaboratively established? You all agree on where we're going and what we're trying to accomplish. Number two is getting everyone on the same, or excuse me, is the ethics and morals in terms of getting people on the same page for specific, what are the rules of the game? And number three is, do we have a timeline? So tactically, the last 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes maybe, what are the keys to creating an environment where there's great collaboration? Well, the first is where we just ended. You have to get everyone to agree on a couple things. In writing, meaning there is some kind of verbal or nonverbal in writing declaration. This is what we're trying to accomplish, the goal. This is the rules we're going to work from. What is appropriate, what is not. And you don't need 50, but everybody needs to be at least generally on the same page with this. And third is, what's the timeline? If you can't get those three, as I mentioned, that's where you start. But if you can't get them, it becomes problematic. Start with, does everybody agree this is what we're trying to accomplish? If not, tell us now. Let's have that conversation. Number two, do we agree with the basic rules of how we're going to do this? How we're all going to treat each other? How we're going to monitor success? How we kind of rate our efforts? What we are allowed to do and not do. And number three, we want it done by this time. Now, that may move depending on circumstances, but we're all at least at the starting point. Goals, rules, and timeline. You got to start with those three. The second thing is how you're going to track the progress or the process of the goal. So I use an online project management software system with a lot of my engagements where I'm the one who's driving it, but the clients have access to everything we're doing, who's assigned, when it's due, what we agree to, what the tasks are. We may add some, we may take some away, but we are agreeing on a place in which we can monitor that. So, do you have a way to track what you're trying to accomplish? By the way, these things are basically free online. If you just use an Excel spreadsheet with a timeline, you'd be fine. A Gantt, where it's all kind of laid out over timelines or times as to all the steps you're trying to get. Lots of different ways of doing that. The third major thing for ensuring great collaboration, communication. What are the ways in which you are regularly going to communicate with each other? So are there regular meetings, emails, things of this nature? I've kind of changed the model in which I operate in Capital Campaign Council. away from being on site for 4 days a week, because I just don't think that's necessary. I think it's an overkill by a factor of 10. So I may be on site two-day periods per month in a campaign, but I'm creating calls every Monday and every Friday with a couple of clients. And we've got this timeline we're working from with all the steps. So we're doing the communication without having to be face to face. And in the world in which we work, that's okay. It's a different world post-COVID. The second thing is a place to share documentation. So everybody has access to the same material. And in today's world, that's much easier than it is. If nothing more than a Google Drive can do that. You want to make sure you follow security and protocols. But there are ways of doing this fairly easily, having a server that's dedicated for certain purposes or folders in that server. How do we get a collective place to put the things we're doing so that everybody has appropriate access? The fourth, which is the kind of overreaching, so maybe it's not even one of the four, it's just overall. Someone, hopefully more than one, has to lead. They have to lead and they have to lead. They have to solve conflict. They have to set goals. Someone has to lead toward what the goal is going to be. The process doesn't mean they get to set the goal alone, but somebody has to get people in the room to have the conversation. Somebody has to be sometimes the voice of, hey, we agreed to these rules and we're not following them. Leading is tough, sometimes not popular. But with like most things, if you don't have someone leading, it's just a group of people out happen to be walking in the same direction, not doing anything together. Keys to success. I'll start from the bottom first. Lead, lead, lead. Somebody lead. Some group of people lead. Somebody leads the subparts, but people have to lead. You have to agree to the goals, rules, and timelines. First and foremost, you have to be able to track what you're trying to do. And finally, you have to be able to communicate on a regular basis. Zoom is a powerful tool. I do believe in face-to-face every once in a while as well, and have a place where those documents and materials and things can be shared. Those are the keys to success when it comes to collaboration. We go all the way back to where I started. What was said by John Maxwell? Nothing of significance was ever achieved by an individual. It just simply wasn't. Look below the surface and you'll find that all seemingly solo acts are really team efforts. The more we realize how important the team is, small team, big team, subparts of the team, having multiple teams within a bigger team, however you want to look at it, we need better teamwork because that's how we're going to solve the problems that our nonprofits and our world has. And the more we work together, the easier it'll be. Don't forget, check out the 90-second read blogs at hallettphilanthropy.com. Just 2 a week, 90-second reads, you get an RSS feed right to you. And don't forget, if you want to reach out to me, suggestion, thought, comment, heck, if you want to leave a review on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Prime Podcasts, wherever you're getting this, I'd be appreciative. But you can get a hold of me at podcast@hallettphilanthropy.com. We need nonprofit work, philanthropy, more now than ever. I think there's going to be some interesting times over the next 6 to 9 months as to exactly what we're trying to accomplish. The key here is one way to do that is through having great collaboration as a team to be able to get to where you want to go and where the organization needs to go. Don't forget, some people make things happen. Some people watch things happen. Then there are those who wonder what happened. At the end of the day, philanthropy is all about people who are making things happen, either as employees, volunteers, or our donors, for the people and the causes that are wondering what happened. That's a great existence professionally. As I've said before, most days, I just don't think I go to work. I just go help people. That's a pretty cool ways for you, me, and anyone else to spend their professional life. I'll look forward to seeing you the next time, right back here on the next edition of Around with Randall. And don't forget, make it a great day.